The Islanders have made multiple moves, changing up the lineup now that a key player is back from injury, and we're going to break it all down on this episode of Islanders Digest. Really, in particular, talk about two lines that I'm not loving and a change I would make, as well as an outlook for what to expect now, as the Islanders have really raised the bar this season so far, showing that they can create some sustainable offense, which is making this season a whole lot more exciting. And if some of these players with these tweaks to the lineup can get going, it can be even more exciting for the New York Islanders. Let's get right into talking about this lineup. Andrew Gross has reported today that finally Shabanov is back in the lineup, and I love that Shabanov is finally healthy. He's a player that I'm very high on. We only saw 6 games so far, but I felt like he was getting better every single game before he got injured in Ottawa. I'm really hoping this is a fluke injury type thing. There is some concern with Shabanov because he is such a small player, but hopefully he can get going. But one thing I'm not liking already, even though it is great that he's healthy, don't like his spot in the lineup at all. Today, he will be playing on the 4th line with Callum Ritchie and Casey Cizikas. And I love the fact that he's playing with Callum Ritchie. I think that's a good fit long term. I think those two players can complement each other very well. The problem is, I don't like them on the 4th line. I worry that they're not going to get enough minutes. And with Shabanov, it is what it is. Especially with Ritchie, while I do like that he's playing in the NHL, this is the concern that we talked about, that it's not really ideal for him to be playing on the 4th line. Now, I don't think it's a concern yet, just because he is getting that second power play time, and also he hasn't produced yet. I'm not really concerned because his defense has looked so good, and that's really impressive for a 20-year-old player. It's important to note with Cal Ritchie, not many players from his draft year at all have really broken out into full-time roles in the NHL. So the fact that he's already playing so well defensively, it's encouraging. And you're seeing too, like, I think the goals are going to come. I think the assists in particular are going to come. When you watched the last game, I thought it was one of his better games offensively in the NHL. I think he's been very consistent defensively. But last game, Casey Cizikas was just not able to finish 2 wide open chances in front of them, or really get even a quality shot on goal. And that's another concern we have to talk about when it comes to this 4th line. I'm not really the type of person to really critique the 4th line all too much. It is a line that isn't really going to get a ton of time. In fact, that's why I'm critiquing it in the case of Ritchie and Shabanov. Your 2 rookies, you want to get them more time in the lineup. And especially with Shabanov, it seems like it would be an easy fix to just move Duclair back down into the 4th line. I don't think he's shown a ton on the 3rd line. I don't love him with Pageau and Lee. And it just seems like it'd be easier to move Holmstrom down to that line, who was incredible playing with Pageau and Lee. That was the best line I think the Islanders have iced all season, except for maybe Horvat and Heineman, and maybe try Holmstrom on that line and put Shabanov with Barzal and Drouin. Maybe you don't want to give him too many minutes in his first game. It is his first time coming back, so I'm not going to make a big deal of it tonight. But one thing I do want to focus on a bit more, I kind of got off track there, is Casey Cizikas has not been playing well, and I've been seeing a lot of you have been commenting on it in the comments below, and I really agree. And it's a tough thing for me because I love Casey Cizikas. He's one of my favorite players all time for the New York Islanders. Just the way he plays, he always has his heart on his sleeve. But at age 34, he's really taking a step back. I thought he took a step back last year, and his transition to the wing really kind of mitigated the effects there. But this year, it is apparent that, well, I think he's still a useful player in the NHL. I'm not saying the Islanders should just get rid of Casey Cizikas. I don't think at this point he's an everyday NHL player. And so far this year, I mean, we talked about he was not finishing those chances at all for Callum Ritchie. So far in 18 games, he only has 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. He's a -7. And that's really the concerning part with Casey Cizikas. This is a player who's known to be defensively very talented. So the fact that the defense is starting to slip, I have some concerns when it comes to Casey Cizikas. And it's also notable, once again, Maxim Tsyplakov is not in the lineup. This is a player early on I was really banging the drum that he needs to be playing in every single game, because I thought Tsyplakov had a ton of potential. And looking at his stat lines, he should. I mean, last year, this is a player who put up 35 points. He really moved across the line of starting on the 2nd line, moving down to the 4th line. I think this year it's really more clear why. Last year I did not see the flaws in his game, but this year he has been an absolute turnover machine, and he's probably a bigger part of why Casey Cizikas is a -7, because Tsyplakov has been playing on the 4th line. He is also -7, and he has been absolutely terrible So I'm not upset with Tsyplakov not being put in the lineup. I am getting frustrated in why he's not able to learn how to protect the puck better. He has such a big body, he has such a big frame, and he's so good with puck battles. So you think this would be a player who at the very least should be able to figure out how to be a very competent fourth line winger. Realistically, this is a player who should be trying to fight. Maybe the second line was too ambitious, but based on what I saw the year before, I really thought this was a player who could grow into a second line player. But maybe this is a player who fits more of a bottom six, but still, he's not showing that he can play every single night in the NHL, and I don't know why. It's a good thing now, in hindsight, that Mathew Darche did not sign him to a longer contract the way I really wanted him to, because I really believed in this player. So far, I have been beyond disappointed. So it's not really a thing where I think it's an emergency that Cizikas is playing every night on the fourth line. Would maybe like to see McLean get some more work. If Ritchie is not going to move up or not get more minutes, maybe it makes sense to give him a shot as like the fourth line center and give Ritchie a little more time in the AHL to really focus on that offense. If he doesn't figure out in the next few games, I still think that he might, and maybe playing with Shabanov is going to be the spark that he needs. I really like the way Shabanov plays. I have a feeling once he gets healthy, he's going to work his way up the lineup. The one thing I do like about Cizikas right now is I think he's a good mentor for a player like Ritchie, a player who, while he is very good defensively so far, he is playing in his first season in the NHL, although he played a few games for Colorado last year. This is his first season playing center. So having Cizikas, who can both take draws in situations where Cal Ritchie is getting thrown out, but also give him pointers on the bench, I think is good for now. Though long term, I really question how much more Cizikas can provide in the NHL on a fourth line role. I'm not saying the Islanders really need to go out and acquire a fourth line player. I don't think that's really a concern you worry about, especially at this stage. Well, the Islanders are very competitive and really pushing to be a team that not just fights for a playoff spot, but kind of commands one going to Thanksgiving. I don't think at this point you really focus on the fourth line. If you do make additions, I think you do have to focus more on the defense, which I do want to touch up on. We now, Scott Mayfield is finally back with the team. He missed the last 2 games because his wife was giving birth, and he now has, him and his wife have welcomed his child, Theodore, into the world. They're doing very well back at home, so now Scott Mayfield is going to be back in the lineup. And I think this also adds another element to the Islanders' defense. To be honest, while Boquist is a decent 7th defenseman, he hasn't really been that good so far, and so it's good that Scott Mayfield is playing again. I think that Romanov-Mayfield pair was a lot better than I thought it would be in its first game, so it's going to be interesting to see if maybe they can provide a little more stability for each other. Of course, Scott Mayfield has looked so far this season playing with Schaefer, but now that Schaefer has graduated to playing with Pulock, it's going to be really interesting to see if Scott Mayfield continues to play the stable way he's played early on this season, because I was a big fan of the Islanders not moving on from Scott Mayfield. I think for his cap hit, it didn't really make sense when really people were calling for them to trade him. I don't think he's a perfect defenseman, but considering the Islanders' weaknesses on the right side of the defense, I think Scott Mayfield is more of the solution than part of the problem. Now, you want to talk about Tony DeAngelo. That's a player who I think he's playing better with Pelech. I think that's more of a thing where Pelech is so good defensively that he's kind of making up for whatever it is that Tony DeAngelo does on the ice. He has been very frustrating to watch this season, and because of Schaefer has stepped up and really taken care of the offensive roles for the Islanders, he has not really had much a role on this team. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. If there was something the Islanders look to upgrade at some point this season, I would definitely think it's finding a replacement for DeAngelo rather than fixing the fourth line. But I'd love to know your thoughts so far, and really tell me your thoughts on this Islanders team. I'm definitely reevaluating what I thought was going to be a long season for the Islanders. The more I watched them play, yes, there are some fluky analytical stats, and we're going to talk about that more perhaps on the next episode of Islanders Digest. But the more they continue to play this fast-tempo rush offense, the more it seems like this is something this team can keep up. And I'm not saying Horvat's going to score 100 points or anything like that, but looking at this forward core, part of the reason why you have a Ritchie and Shabanov playing on the fourth line is you have a lot of depth on this team. And so far, they're showing that these players are all playing very well. I mean, I've been incredibly impressed with Heineman and Horvat. Palmieri's on that first line. I don't exactly love the way he's playing so far, but he's a player who can turn it on very quickly. Druid and Barzal has been a really interesting pair. I didn't think I was going to like it. I like it a lot. I will admit I was wrong there, not loving Barzal and Holmstrom. And this seems to be a theme where I think Holmstrom is a very good player. I love Barzal. I don't think they quite work together, which is why I'd love to see Holmstrom play on the third line. And in this case, I think it's a weird situation where I think you're going to get more offense from Holmstrom, and in addition, Pageau and Lee, if you have them playing better, playing on the third line. I think it's just a better fit. But I'd love to know your thoughts on the lineup in the comments below. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm your host, Patrick Nilan. Catch you on the next episode of Islanders Digest. Hopefully, we're talking about a big win against the Colorado Avalanche, which would be huge because so far the Islanders have been absolutely hitting it out of the park on this road trip. But that's going to do it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and have a great day. Let's go, Islanders.